Hello and welcome to Goose Live. I am your host, Charlie Stivers, also a publisher of Goose Magazine. And in today's episode, we're going to help you work smarter, not harder. I know a guy, and this is going to be an interesting conversation, and we'll be right back to introduce him and get right into the meat of the show. And we're back. Charlie Stivers here with Goose Live, helping you prepare for the digital economy. And today's episode, we want to help you work smarter and not harder, right? That's the idea in this whole digital world and leveraging our time and resources so we can be more effective and more productive and get our message across and help others. So today's episode, we are meeting with the leader of MegaFluence. You know how there's like all, we got to have a website, social media, funnels, CRMs, emails, and like, how do we wrap all that together? So Eric Yaillen, he is the founder of MegaFluence, and he really helps all of us who are struggling in starting our business and really relieves that heavy lifting. So it's been a relief for me. I was one of those people that I just talked about, and starting a website and the magazine and all this stuff, and like trying to find the solution to help it work all together. So we're going to jump into that today with Eric Yaillen and with MegaFluence. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Hi, Charlie.
All right, looking good, sounding good. Thanks for joining us here, Goose Live. Let's jump into it. We got a lot to cover. It's pretty interesting, for all of us who are business owners or want to be business owners. I think what you do is really key to help us, like I said, just be more productive, less stress, and start to systematize and automate all these things that we have available to us, but also just putting them together on one platform or helping, manage it within one person or team. That's a relief. So thank you. Let's jump into like what you do to help us business owners.
Well, how I got into this is I've been doing entrepreneurial things since I was in high school. And eventually I was always in marketing communications, tried my hand in all different aspects of it because there's so many different channels you can go through. Eventually ended up in the entertainment industry. Then from there, I ended up in sports. From sports, that kind of got me into computers, though I actually bought my first computer in 1984 before I went to graduate school. And very early on, I saw the value of automation. In fact, in my first job out of college, I was one of 40 regional marketing directors, and I was the only one who was computerized. And not only was I the most productive of everybody, I was the only one to always get my stuff in on time. And I was able to take a lot of time off compared to everyone else. So I saw the value. Well, that eventually led to an opportunity to work in the software industry. And then I started my own software company, eventually got fed up with dealing with software users and dealing with all of that, decided to go back into the sports industry, eventually became the CEO of the Southern Nevada Golf Association. But in 2014, I got very sick and I had to drop out of work completely. And I actually stopped working until 2021 after I had some new treatments and I was able to get off of the painkillers. And I said, okay, what am I going to do now? And I still had a lot of health issues, so I couldn't necessarily go and get a job. So it's like, okay, got to do something entrepreneurial. And I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. And initially I said, well, I know a lot of the stuff about software, and I happened to know a guy he had a software development company, and he was struggling getting some software out. Well, it turns out he had created a partnership with a guy named Perry Belcher. And Perry Belcher is considered the godfather of digital marketing. He actually started in digital marketing in 1995 and was doing it off of old bulletin board systems. This was even before browsers and the internet as we know it came around. So Perry actually, not only is he the godfather of digital marketing, but he's the co-founder of digitalmarketer.com, the co-founder of the Traffic and Conversion Summit. And he actually has, I think right now he has active like 10 or 11 different companies. So I went to work for them as a consultant, did that until April of last year and said, this is not really what I want to do. So what can I do? And the more I talked to entrepreneurs, it seemed like everyone was struggling with the same thing. And that was technology was always a roadblock, but it became more of a roadblock, and it was too many choices, too many systems, too complicated, too hard to stitch things together. And then the general experience I got over and over and over again is I spent tens of thousands of dollars going down this way or that way or the other way. And I feel like I was ripped off because I never got anything for it. So, what they teach you in marketing is, good marketers, what they do is they solve problems. And that seemed to be a good problem for me to solve. It's something that I had a unique skill that I could bring to the table. And so I decided at that point to go more into, initially it was going to be just business coaching. And that's when I came up with this concept called the MegaFluence method. Now, the MegaFluence method is my 4-part framework of what any business needs if they want to become market leaders in their niche, whatever that they want to do. And it's a simple framework. And by the way, anyone who comes up with these frameworks that names them, it's not like they're necessarily coming up with anything new and different. It's they're repackaging things that are tried and true. So what did I repackage? Well, first thing is you need to have the right foundation, and that's your brand and brand strategy. And everything you do has to be built off of that. Then the second thing is you need to have standard operating procedures, because if you're ultimately going to grow and scale, nobody that you bring in is going to be able to read your mind and do things the way you want it. So you have to have it written down. I want you to do this, and here's step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want you to do it this way in this order, this way, because that's going to make you happy as the person running the show. Third thing is you need to know who your ideal customer is. So you have to know how to create a customer avatar. And those 3 things you need, whether you're going to be running a business out of your home on paper, or if you want to become a multi-million-dollar conglomerate. You need those 3 things, and they don't require computers at all. But ultimately, if you do want to grow and scale, then you have no choice. You have to get technology involved. And again, that became the big sticking point for a lot of people. And I said, okay, I can help with that. And so the MegaFluence agency was born. And then initially I was working with another company with a SaaS software system. They started going in a slightly different direction. I spun it off branded them under my own name, and here we are today.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And one of those details that I learned about you is you were early on specifically in the CRM or customer relationship manager software world.
Well, so the word or the term CRM didn't become something that was coined until late 1990s, early 2000s. But in 1991, I was able to negotiate a contract with the PGA of America, and we were hired to create basically a membership management system for all of their regional offices. So the PGA of America is the world's largest sports organization. At the time, they had roughly 27,000 members. And they have, of course, their national headquarters, but then regionally, they had 41 regional offices. And so we actually handled 38 out of those 41 offices. We created their systems. We helped them systematize and how would they manage just their members in their territory, and how would we communicate that information back to the national office. And so for all intents and purposes, that was a customer relationship management system. It just wasn't really called that then. Mm-hmm. And so we actually launched that in 1992. It was still in the days of DOS. Microsoft Windows wasn't even out yet. And then I did that with them until 1995, and that's when I created my own company. And in my own company, we created the world's first Windows-based club management system, primarily for health and fitness clubs, hospital-based fitness centers, and corporate fitness centers.
Crazy to think that there was no Excel or Google Sheets back in the day.
There actually was Excel. I actually started using Microsoft Word and Excel in 1984.
Wow.
And when the Mac, so my very first computer was an IBM compatible. In those days, there was no such thing as a hard drive. I had two 5.25 inch or 5.5 inch floppy drives. And that's how you deal with the data. And it was an IBM compatible. And so the word processing system at the time was WordStar, and the spreadsheet was Lotus 123. But then I bought my first Mac, and I actually bought the second generation Mac. It was called the Fat Mac. So the very first generation had a whopping 128K of RAM. That's it. No hard drive, no nothing. The Fat Mac had a whopping 512K of RAM. And so I bought that in 1984. And Microsoft Word and Excel were available for the Mac at that time.
Question is, do you still have that machine?
No, I wish I did, kind of.
Right? Oh my gosh, collector's item.
Yeah.
Anyway, and all right, so take us to modern day, and the struggles that we deal with. Maybe you want to paint out what you see and the solutions that you kind of now are starting to get people to realize what is so available, what's affordable, and making their life a lot easier.
So the typical person who is maybe not an experienced business person, wants to start their own business, they know what they know, and they don't know that some of those things are transferable or not transferable. So for instance, they go, well, I know how to do email. I've been doing email for years. And they have their Gmail account or their Hotmail account or whatever. And that's great for sending a couple emails, or, maybe you have a list of 20 friends and you'll blind copy your 20 friends or whatever. That's not the same as sending out bulk emails. So when every guru out there is going to say, you need to build a list. So you're always doing things to get people to give you their email address at the very least. And then you want to send out messages and nurture them over a period of time. Well, when you're sending out hundreds of emails, or in my case, my list right now is about 20,000 that I send out. When you're sending out 20,000 emails, a whole different set of rules apply. And so there's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through to be able to do that. So that's one area that I help people navigate. Another one is text message marketing. And of course, a lot of the gurus are going to tell you that text message marketing is the way to go because people aren't inundated with spam and unwanted messages as much. And the rules are changing on that too, so you get even less unwanted things. But it's not the same as going to your phone and texting your buddy. That's a one-off message, and the same rules do not apply when you're sending out thousands of text messages at a time. Just for one of my clients, we started a campaign today. It was 3,700 text messages. Well, totally different set of rules. So that's another thing you got to deal with. Now, when a person is starting their business, it's like, okay, what do I need? Well, I need to have a way for people to book appointments with me. So I'm sure everybody, when they look at whoever they're dealing with, 9 times out of 10, where do the people go first? They go to something like, well, they know that their Google Calendar isn't going to work, even though Google just actually came out with the ability that you can kind of create a public view of it, but it's still not going to work for the things that you want to do. So what do people do? They go to something like Calendly, and they can get Calendly for free for a single type of calendar. But if you want to segregate appointments and you have some people for one type of call and other people for a different type of call, you need to have multiple calendars. Now you have to pay for that. So depending on the service that you're paying for, and there's other services like Schedule Once and Acuity, they're going to cost anywhere from $10 to $20 a month. So, okay, you got that piece taken care of. You got to pay, you got to do the bulk email. Well, you can get started with that. I also often set people up with a free service that you can handle up to like 500 people in your list before they're really going to start charging you. And then we figure out a way to upgrade them when they're ready to a paid account, and they're going to increase the volume of their emails. But they're going to need that. But now you still have a problem because that's one database, and your calendar has another database. So how do you have all of that information in one place? Because you want to track your customer and their journey with you in one place. If you have to look in 5 places to figure out what's going on, you're not that productive. So that's just at the very beginning. Those are 3 basic areas: your calendar, your emails, and your text messages. But you can do so much more if you have the right systems. And you want to set up a system that can work for you while you're sleeping. Again, you started out this saying, Charlie, you want to work smarter, not harder. Well, wouldn't it be nice if you can make a sale at 3 o'clock in the morning while you're sleeping? Well, the only way to do that is to have the right systems in place that can do that for you. So, we help you set up the web pages and the funnels. And by the way, a funnel is a website. It just functions a little differently. In a website, when you go to it, you have a lot of choices. You have all the navigation. It's the home, the about, the contact us, the resources, or whatever all of the different pages are that are on the website, and they tend to be rather static. But because they give a person a lot of choices, they don't necessarily become buyers, because in marketing, there's another principle: a confused mind is not a buyer's mind. So funnels were created so that when you bring them to a page, the customer has one choice and one choice only. It's either yes or no. And if they say yes, they become a buyer. And then after they become a buyer, maybe you give them the next offer. Kind of like when you go to McDonald's and you order a quarter pounder with cheese, and then the person at the counter says, would you like fries with that? Well, that's an upsell. Okay. So all you're doing with a funnel is you're defining the customer journey up and down the aisles of whatever it is that is your quote unquote store. But it's still, for all intents and purposes, a website. But then whatever actions that take place on either your website or a funnel, you can then have things automatically handle it for you. So for instance, you might create an ebook, and you're giving it away for free so you can build your list. Well, so you go to a page, you fill out the form, you gather the information, it goes to a thank you page where they can then get access to that automatically. Maybe you give them another offer. But at the very least, it's all fulfilled automatically, and it can happen 24/7, 365. At the end of the day, that's the basics. But those are some of the things that people struggle with. Now, we can do a lot of other things, but you got to do it in stages because it can become very overwhelming. And I often hear when I start showing people things and giving them all of their ideas, after a half hour, for some people, it's, oh my God, my brain hurts. It's too much. So you got to take it in small pieces.
Yeah, that makes sense. So one thing I think our audience will appreciate is maybe a little ideating or inspiration. So, maybe let's walk through some scenarios for a potential business owner. So let's say, someone in the audience has a specific task. They want to maybe start a business, thinking about it. Maybe throw out some ideas, like you said, the booklet, an ebook, or tips or tricks, or some kind of. What are some ideas that our audience can take action on and maybe launch a business, a digital business?
Okay, so I'd be remiss if I didn't go down this one path, which is painful and boring to everybody. And that is, you have to make a decision before you start a business of whether you're going to have a business or if you're going to have a hobby. And if you're going to have a business, you're going to be dedicating a lot of hours to it, and you need to make sure that you set things up correctly. Because if you set it up wrong, you're going to hurt yourself in the end. So you need to make sure that you set up your business and incorporate it correctly. It's another thing I see a lot of entrepreneurs do is they don't even know how to set up the basics of their business. So things like, okay, I know that I should set up maybe I need to set up my business. How do I do it? And they automatically gravitate to, they register it with the state wherever they reside. Bad decision. Depends on the state that you reside, because it doesn't matter where you reside. Your business can be registered absolutely anywhere. And if you think you can be successful, you might as well start out by getting it registered in the right place, because at the end of the day, you're trying to protect your wealth, your assets. You need to do a little CYA. So you need to make sure you set up in the right state. Then you need to talk to somebody who understands these things, like an accountant, who would tell you what is the right structure of your business. And again, a lot of people automatically gravitate to the LLC. What they don't know is that a single member LLC and a multi-member LLC have different protections in place. And maybe that's not the right way to go. And maybe, again, everybody's circumstances are different. So what applies to me isn't necessarily going to apply to you or the next guy. But maybe you need to be a C Corp. Maybe you need to be an S Corp. Maybe a partnership is better. Maybe just setting it up as a sole proprietorship is fine. You need to talk to a professional and get that out of the way. Then before you're going to even get into business, if you want to make sure that, again, CYA, you need to make sure that you have all of your legal ducks in a row. And again, this is a problem I see all the time. And I'm always surprised at experienced business people that don't do this. But go to most websites, you're going to see a little thing at the bottom in the footer for a privacy policy, a shipping policy, return policy, disclaimer, terms and conditions. All of those things are a necessity. And the privacy policy today is more important than anything. At the end of the day, when you start a business, it's about who people want to do business with, people they know, like, and trust. And the regulators around the world are creating new privacy rules and regulations that you must comply with. And if you don't, and there's a complaint filed against you, they can take a lot. So for instance, if you violate GDPR rules, which is in the European Union, they can fine you up to 4% of your gross earnings. If you're in the United States, the FTC can fine you up to $50,000 per incident. So if you have 100 emails that violated the rules, that could be 100 times 50,000. And that doesn't even cover all of the states. So if you're doing business with people who live in California, there's special rules for that. If you're doing business with people who live in Virginia, there's special rules for that. And this year is known as the year of privacy because up until January of this year, only one state had unique privacy rules, and now there's 6, and they're growing every day. So we help people with all of those compliance things. Again, it's boring. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody likes it. But I'd be remiss if I didn't at least give the information, and then they can choose whether or not they want to do the old CYA. And we try to give them solutions that are cheaper rather than expensive. There's ways that you can do these things without having to hire, a $500 an hour attorney. We actually give you something that's a lot less, and we help you set all that up. So now that we got that out of the way, what kind
Thank
of
you,
fun
by the
things
way.
can you do?
I mean, seriously, no one talks about that stuff. So that's really much appreciated. And it's a must have.
What I find is, when you think of all of the different gurus that are, that you can go to, there's somebody who's an expert in every little niche. And they leave it to you to put all the pieces together and connect the dots. But nobody's out there to really help them connect the dots. And that's kind of where because the technology is a place where you have to systematize, it's a great place to connect all of those dots. So that's what I try to do. Now, again, when we talk about the fun things, so a lot of people like doing social media. They like doing their Facebook Lives or their YouTube Shorts, or maybe they want to do a podcast. Anything that you do in social media, if you have the right tools in place, you can use them to activate offers. So for instance, and I don't have something set up in my own site right now, but you can go and you could do, for instance, an Instagram reel. And in your video, you could say, just DM the word, and you come up with a keyword. And your systems can actually listen for that. So when the DM comes in, there's a system that's actually doing the fulfillment for you. And we can set up systems that can do that with your text messaging, with your email, with Google My Business. Actually, that's another one. I'm always amazed at the number of businesses that don't take advantage of all of the free things that they can take advantage of just when they're getting started. And one of the most important ones is setting up a Google My Business account. Again, Google is the world's largest search engine. How often do you say, I want to go to a Mexican restaurant, and you go to Google and it's like, find me a Mexican restaurant near me. Well, that's going through Google, and then it goes to Google Maps, and the people that are listed and get listed first are the ones that are doing the best job in Google My Business. So you need to take care of that. You need to set up a Google My Business account. And if you set it up properly, people can DM you in Google Chat. They can give you a keyword, and you can fulfill it automatically 24/7, 365. We can also do that with Facebook Messenger, and hopefully soon in the next couple of months, we'll have it available with WhatsApp as well. So that's one of the fun things that you can do. When you create your automations, you can decide how much of it is automated and how much is not automated. I was setting up something yesterday where we wanted to send out a text message and see who was going to be interested in a meeting tonight at 6:00. So the original discussion was, well, we can send out a text message and say, reply with a Y if you're interested. And then if they reply with a Y, the system can automatically then follow up with them and give them more information, and we can send them emails or nurture them or whatever. The person we were talking to, he goes, no, I want to be a more hands-on approach. So what did we do? Instead of sending out any automated messages, all we did is we created an internal notification. We sent that information to a Slack channel. Now the sales guy is looking at a Slack channel, and every time somebody responded with a yes, that Slack message had the person's phone number and name and email, and they could just immediately get on the phone and say, hey, this is, so-and-so. I see you're interested in our meeting at 6:00. Here's the information. I hope we see you there. And now it's a more hands-on approach. Almost anything that you want to do, we can design it to do. We have to work together to design it the way that you want to run your business. The other thing we can do, if you want to get really exciting, and again, all these things, ultimately, the more you want to do, it's always going to cost money. We can now incorporate generative AI. So in a generative AI system, it's a lot for customer service. It can be for appointment setting. It can be for some low-ticket sales. But again, somebody can come into your portal, they can ask questions, and because it's tied in with artificial intelligence, and if it's built correctly, it can respond and answer those questions, and it can answer them properly. And if a person comes in and they are a Spanish speaker, they can ask their question in Spanish, and the AI system will respond in Spanish or whatever language that they're in. And we're even getting to the point now with generative AI that, first of all, we can educate the AI with your voice based on some recordings of your voice. And if they want to ask you a question in a voice, you can actually respond through the generative AI with a voice message. So, the opportunities are ultimately endless. And where we're going to go in the future, who knows? But we have augmented reality, we have virtual reality, we have mixed reality also coming in. That's probably a few more years away because it's a little harder to put together. But as everyone has seen, the AI is coming fast and furious.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've interviewed a couple in the AI space already, and it's interesting to see even from a few months ago how far we've gone. So technology is moving quickly. I guess in starting out some of these businesses, maybe give some people some simple ideas on how they can maybe turn their skills or talents, background, career path into a business and start somewhere.
Well, so first thing is know where your talents and interests are. Then go to a site, a really good site to start with that's free. It's called answerthepublic.com. And you can put in one or two words, keywords, and you can find out what Answer the Public does is it scrapes all of the different search engines, and it gives you a report back of what is it that people are searching for on that subject. Well, again, the core of any entrepreneur's venture and success is how well do you solve other people's problems? Now, and what problem do you want to solve? Do you want to solve a problem that only 1 in a million people have, or one that 999,000 have out of a million? So that's where you get something like Answer the Public, and it'll tell you, okay, these are like the major questions that people are asking. Then you figure out how can you provide whatever service you're offering to answer that problem. And you start building it around that.
That's a really good tip. I haven't even heard of that one, but I'll be testing it out. That's interesting. All right, so let's get into some more technical stuff. I think the audience will find it pretty cool. We're not going to show anything because that will bore you, but can you maybe paint the picture of, like I said, was maybe just connecting all these dots with the different fractured programs that we have out there, and the solution that you have and the team that you have, and wrapping it all up simply for people.
Okay, so again, let's start with, when you're building a system, and again, this is something I see time and again is, they know that they need X, so they get a system to do X. And then they say, okay, well, now I want to do this other thing. So they have to buy another system for that. And then they want to do this other thing. And so they buy another system for that. And when you add up all of the different subscription costs, it adds up to a lot of money. And I am constantly, and by the way, you'll also find that these gurus, because of affiliate marketing, and by the way, whatever business you're starting, see whatever vendors you're using in your business that you like and you want to refer, create an affiliate account, because when you refer it, it can be another stream of income. And a lot of the good business gurus that are out there are going to say you need to find multiple streams of income. So affiliate relationships are a good way to add on to that. However, time and again, different gurus, what they're going to promote as their affiliate relationship, it might not necessarily be the best fit for you, because just because they are pushing it doesn't mean that they even know how to use it properly. So I won't name any names because I don't do that, but I've had the opportunity to see inside and under the hood of a lot of different businesses. So there is this one big guru, has millions of followers, and he's pushing his tech stack was Jotform, ClickFunnels, Infusionsoft, Lead Pages, Mobile Monkey, and a couple other ones. And he was paying over $1,000 a month for all of those subscriptions. The fact is, when I looked under the hood, he wasn't using any of them as well as he possibly could. And if he had the right systems in place, I actually made a proposal to him. And some people just don't like change, but I could have put him in a different system that would have lowered his costs by $6,000 to $10,000 a year. But people know what they know, and then they get comfortable. And if they're invested in it for a long period of time, they don't want to make a change. Had another person that I talked to, and because of the people that they were bringing into their world to help them out, so they had one system to do X, and then they said, okay, I need to do funnels. So they went to somebody who was big with ClickFunnels, and then that person said, well, we'll build the funnels for you, but you have to have a ClickFunnels account. Well, so that was another subscription, and ClickFunnels, the basic version, is like $127 a month. Well, I said to them, well, they can build it. I can just suck it into our system, and then you can save that $127 a month. So I'm always trying to look at ways that we can't always eliminate everybody's system, but we can streamline it as much as possible, so that ultimately, if you can afford $1,000 a month, wouldn't you like to have X amount of that $1,000 to be able to put into new things like digital advertising? Because ultimately, again, if you're going to grow and scale, you need to take whatever resources you have available to spend on your business and be able to put them in different buckets. So we're constantly looking at that. Another big name out there, they're big in the podcasting world, and the solution that they propose is something, their basic system is like $640 a month. I can replace all of that for $97 a month. So again, which one do you want? And then at the end of the day, it's also, and by the way, millions of people do this. Well, maybe not millions, hundreds of thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people do this. You ultimately have to find the right people, because some people are obviously going to be better than others. And so you need to find out, are they going to be there for you when it comes to support? How much support can they give you? And how much is it going to cost? Because obviously nothing is going to be free. But the system that I offer, I've seen people sell the same system for $1,500 a month, and then they don't provide necessarily the right support. So be mindful of that. Make sure you know exactly what you needed to do. Don't necessarily go and buy the first system because somebody recommended it, because guess what? That system might not be right for you. Here's another one. I had a guy, he was so excited he was going to sign up for somebody else's recommendation, but I was listening to him it was a summit, and he said, well, this is my business, and this is what I want to do with it. And I happened to have a connection with him on LinkedIn, and I said, hey, by the way, based on what you're saying, I don't think that system is necessarily going to do what you want it to do. And I said, I don't care what system you buy. I just want you to not make an emotional decision. I want you to make one based on what's best for your business. Well, he didn't like that at all. Oh, he said all sorts of bad things behind my back. He said, well, I've already paid for 5 weeks of training, blah, blah, blah. Right, well, okay, hey, it's your, I want to help you. At the end of the day, I don't care what you choose. It's whatever you think is best for your business is fine with me. 5 weeks later, he says, okay, I'm ready to look. So I showed him what we could do for him. And his initial response was, well, I like the user interface of this other system better. I said, okay, hey, if that's what you like, that's fine. Whatever works for you, that's great. 3 days later, he said, I need to get over this look and feel, because your system does all of the functions that I want it to do, and this other system doesn't. And of course, I'm working with him today. So your audio's out.
Double tap that. Thank
better.
you. And I can relate. I mean, literally walking through that scenario with you as well, it's just shocking how, I use an old tech word, robust the system is, and all the things that it accomplished. So that's pretty cool. And all right, so one of the other things that people don't realize is we have access to workforce around the world. Can you maybe touch on the world of virtual assistants and kind of the pitfalls and the things to look for in that? And you obviously provide that solution too. Maybe expand on how that's kind of evolving for all of us who want to work from home or start a business.
Well, so again, most people don't realize that virtual assistants can be available anywhere. And a lot of people don't want to get out of their comfort zone, so they'll tend to try to find somebody locally who they can almost literally work with side by side. But in this day and age, we can work with anyone virtually. And let's face it, if you want to work with somebody in the United States or Canada, they're going to be a lot more expensive than somebody that you can hire out of another country. Again, it depends on which country you're working with, but I've hired people in Pakistan and Nigeria and Bangladesh and India and the Philippines. Now, you have to understand that culturally, you're going to have to deal with certain things, and some people are going to be better in certain types of functions, or they have to be led differently. But you can actually find people to do work for $1 to $2 an hour, depending on the type of work that you're having them do. If it's a little bit more technical, I can actually get software developers for $25 an hour, where that same developer in the United States is going to be $150 an hour. And it's not that they're less talented. Sometimes they're more talented. I think I told you at the beginning, I started working for this company that's co-owned by Perry Belcher. All of their developers were in Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh, and all of their graphic arts people were in the Philippines. And so, sometimes you can get them to work US hours. You just need to know where to look. And, where can you find talent? You can certainly find talent at places like Fiverr or Upwork. But then you also have to be willing to invest the time to do the interviewing and the hiring and all of that. And some people don't want to do that. So then there are VA agencies where they take care of all of the hiring, all of the HR things, all of the benefits. And so it's a little higher bill, but it takes a lot off of your plate. I have a team of VAs right now that on average I'm paying, anywhere from $5 to $7.50 an hour. So again, it would be a lot more expensive if I hired them here. And then it depends on what specific talents you need. And rarely are you going to find a VA that can do 100% of everything you want them to do. So you have to break it down. And so in fact, like right now, I'm making some proposals for a couple of my clients on just SEO, or just doing social media marketing, or just doing video editing, or social media management, or in some cases, I want to get somebody who's a little bit more technical and they can help me with APIs or building up the websites and building in some automations and knowing how to incorporate the work that they do into the system that I provide. There's a lot out there. And so one of the things that we offer all of our clients is access to the people that we've worked with in the past. And they have, if they go through me, I'm usually going to be kind of like that intermediary project manager. So I'll mark it up. I'll add 20%. But still, if somebody is being paid $8 an hour and I mark it up 20%, it's still a lot less than what they're going to pay over here, because they're going to have to pay a minimum of $15 an hour, usually, if not more. So the whole idea of what we're trying to put together, and we're still putting it together, is create good joint venture relationships. And by the way, that's another thing that every entrepreneur should think about. Don't think that you can be everything to everyone. Don't try to do everything. things that you know that you can offer to your clients that they need. Create relationships. Build your business through relationships. That's really the best way. You can create a win-win situation for your partner, for yourself, and for your client. Your audio's out again.
Jeez, tapping the wrong. Anyway, speaking of being everything to everyone, it feels like social media is so overwhelming. There's so many channels out there. And a lot of people who want to be entrepreneurs start with social media. What are some of the solutions that your system has to leverage our time and our content and disperse it as far as you can through all the channels that we own, I guess?
So another thing that you need to know is even if a tool is available, you still need to evaluate it. And in most cases, it's going to be more than enough than what you need, but sometimes you need to have other tools to help you. But in our system, we do have a social media planning and posting system. So you can, like, for instance, I have VAs, I'll say, I want to do a campaign about this. They'll build everything out in a spreadsheet. And on that spreadsheet, they'll have what the content is, what the headline is, what the channel is, what the call to action is, and what the graphic is. And then they can literally import all of that into the planner. And then they can put it all in today, and they can schedule it out 6 months from now. So once they schedule it, then again, it's something that can be running for you. And if you don't hire a VA to do it, that you go, and this is a typical standard operating method that a lot of people teach, and that is, set aside Saturday morning, and that's when you want to create all of your social media for the next 1 to 2 weeks. So you create all of the stuff, you finish it up, you go and you post it, you set it up for when you want it to schedule, and then if you're scheduling it to go out at 7 a.m. and you want to sleep till 8, you don't care because it's going to do it for you. So, again, for most people, that's going to be more than adequate. I am by no means doing what I want to do yet in social media. I'm just kind of like filling some spaces right now. And that's going to be one of the next things I do is I'm going to be building out and adding to a team so I can actually really up that game. Also, pick one channel as your primary channel. Pick the best channel for your customer avatar. That doesn't mean that you have to disregard all of the other channels. It's just you focus most of your time and effort in one channel. But when you create content, you create once and repurpose everywhere. So if you're going to create a video, granted, you might have to resize it for Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, and you might have to display it differently, or in TikTok, you might have to have it with different music. That's something that a VA can do for you. It's sometimes something that some of the AI systems that are out there can now do for you. But you create once, republish everywhere. And always look at ways that you can be omnipresent. So, for instance, another thing that our system can do is if you're going to create a digital course or a membership, we can handle a membership site and your digital courses. But when you're creating a digital course, don't just go and create a video. Take a video, create a transcript, create an MP3, create a workbook, create some copy, summarize it, turn it into a blog. Now you're really maximizing your time. And with AI, you can literally just create your video. You can use AI to get that information out of the video, rewrite it for you as a blog, and you're not spending hours and days to build all that content. You can literally bring it down to, a half hour.
Yeah, talk about leverage. That's great. And expand a little bit on, if people are getting started. I was going to ask you specifically about membership and community, for us relationship people that want to build a community. Maybe touch on how valuable membership is, especially from the point of view of passive income.
So, one really popular form of recurring passive income is a membership site. And there's a lot of people that make a lot of money not charging a whole heck of a lot. So a brilliant entrepreneur and marketer in a variety of different areas is a guy named Rob Moore. He's out of the UK, and he's the #1 best-selling author of the book Money. He's done a whole lot of different things, but he does have a membership site, and he just charges the way he marketed it was it's the cost of a cup of coffee a month. Okay, so if you're one of those people that goes to Starbucks every day and buys the grande mochaccino, blah blah blah, it's costing you $5 or $6. Can you sacrifice one of those a month and invest in your future by going to a particular person's membership site? Well, he's got 40,000 people paying $7 a month. So he's making a couple $100,000 a month. And all he's doing is he's taking whatever content he makes and he's repurposing it into the membership site. Maybe what he gives away for free, maybe has a 30-minute lesson that he's going to give. The whole 30 minutes is in the membership site. And then on Facebook, you can get 10 minutes of it. So you always want to give as much value as you can, but you don't have to give away everything. Make them want more so that they have an incentive to pay you the $7 a month. And don't necessarily think you have to go and charge someone, $97 a month. Make it simple, because by the way, once you get them into the buying mode, then they're likely to ultimately buy more and more and more and more. So figure out a way that you can start small.
Yeah, we learned that through ClickFunnels, that the whole value ladder. That's great.
Russell Brunson, the king of the free book giveaway, pay shipping only, which is a great way to build a list. And his stuff is phenomenal. Good content. Also with your membership site, again, that's where you can build community. Some people will go the free route, which is start a Facebook group. It doesn't cost you anything to start a Facebook group. There's going to be other people who are going to say, hey, you know what? I want to have more control because Facebook deplatformed a friend of mine, and I want to have that control. Well, we can set you up either in our system with a lower level, not as good of a community, but it's a good place to start. Or we have other solutions that might cost a little bit of money, but give you that same look and feel of Facebook, but are not on Facebook. So there's always going to be trade-offs. You have to decide what's the best way to go. Maybe you do a little bit of both. And again, you want to have a place to create any content that you can either sell or give away and give value. People want to do business with those that they see value in, who they know, like, and trust. And today, the marketer has to give a lot more value than they had to give 5 years ago in order to be able to have that relationship with a potential customer.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have just about 3 minutes left. Why don't you jump in a little bit? I don't know if it's an offer or a way to contact you or a giveaway. Why don't you talk about this link here we have to share with the audience?
Well, Charlie, as you know, I've been spending a lot of time helping others and not doing enough work yet on my business. That's what we're trying to do. And I brought in a business partner to kind of help me with that a little bit. And then I have, by the way, always be willing to invest in mentors. Tony Robbins pays for mentors. So even if you're the #1 guy, he just spends a hell of a lot more money on mentors than I can afford to spend. But I'm going through, I have a mentor as well, because I don't profess to know everything. So I go to somebody who can give me the things that I need help with. And then ultimately I gain that knowledge and I can pass it on to the people that I work with. So right now, my only offer is basically, if you need somebody to look at how you're doing your business, if you want some ideas of where you can start, just contact me. You can email me at eric@megafluence.co. You can go and book a slot on my calendar. You can see it there. It's www.megafluence.net/Eric. You can check me out and communicate on LinkedIn, though I don't spend enough time on my social media, so I'm really bad at following up there. And you can at least start there, and you can also reach out to me if you want on WhatsApp. And that number is 503-358-8216 on WhatsApp, so you can reach me there. And we can start the conversation and see how I can help you out. By the way, since we see MegaFluence there, it's another thing that you need to consider when you're starting a business. That is, protect your intellectual property. So I know a couple people that have started a podcast, and unfortunately, other people have the exact same name in their business. So what good does that do them in the long run? So if you're going to start a business, come up with the name, check the trademark system to see if anyone has taken it, and then consider investing in that trademark. It's not cheap. It's going to cost you at least $1,000, but we can help you with that as well. And then just so you know, and these are mostly fees that the government takes. When you get a trademark, there's hundreds of different categories that you can protect yourself in. And you actually have to pay $350 for every single category you want to be in. So if you want to be in online, that's one category. If you want to be in apparel using the same name, that's another category. If you want to be in another kind of service, that could be another category. So figure that out, but at least protect yourself in one category so that somebody else can't do business under your name.
And maybe people should Google it first and see if there's a duplicate.
That would help too, yes.
That's a good way to close this. We're so appreciative of this valuable information and the time you spent with us. So thank you so much. It'll be fun to invite you back, and we might have some progress that we can show off a little bit of your work with. So thank you to the audience for joining us here today. We'll be back every Thursday at noon Mountain Time on e360tv.com.